Hey, what's up? This is Luke, and welcome back to Luke on TV. So today I thought I would talk a little bit more about the PlayStation VR. If you had seen my last two videos that I had uploaded last weekend, you would have seen me and my girlfriend both trying the PlayStation VR at a Best Buy in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. We both had a really fun time. That was pretty cool. If you haven't seen those two videos yet, I definitely recommend that you check them out. But anyway, I realized soon after I shot my video that I didn't really talk enough in detail about my actual experience with the VR. So I decided that I would probably do this video where I just talk a little bit more in depth about my first impressions on the VR demo. And then just talk a little bit more about the VR in general, talk about the launch, and then also maybe talk very briefly about the history of virtual reality gaming as I've come to know it. So anyway, I'm 36 years old. And if you've been around as long as I have, then you'll probably remember the Nintendo Virtual Boy. Now, this came out like the early 90s. I never did own one. I don't think I even remember trying one. All I know is that it had a lot of mixed reviews. And I also remember, too, that a lot of the games had this really heavy red tint to it. And even though I never got a chance to try it, I can only imagine that I would not be able to play a game like this probably for longer than 20, 30 minutes, tops. You know what I mean? I think I would get pretty sick of this. Not to mention maybe get some motion sickness after some time too. I just can't imagine playing a game like this for long periods of time. But some people said that it actually worked pretty well. Like the virtual reality image that you got wasn't too bad. So again, I never got a chance to try it. So if you did get a chance to try it, you have a Virtual Boy, go ahead and comment below. I'd be interested to read about whatever thing you have to say about Virtual Boy. Anyway, so this is what the kind of images look like. And of course, you had a lot of Mario type games that came with it as well. And this is Mario Tennis. To my knowledge, this is one of the higher rated games for the Virtual Boy. So again, if you've played this game, you like it, go ahead and comment below. I'd be really interested to see what you have to say about it. So anyway, that was the Nintendo Virtual Boy. It did not sell very well. I do not remember what the launch price was. My only guess is it probably was somewhere between maybe $150, $300. That's my guess. But I don't know if the price was the main reason it failed. Maybe it was just because of the lack of the games, or maybe people did not want to sit and stare at these red images all day. I don't know. But anyway, all I know is it failed pretty miserably. Did not do well. But nevertheless, Sega still decided they wanted to come out with their own headset. And one year at CES, I don't know if it was 92, 93, maybe even 94, they revealed that they were going to come out with this headset and it was going to work with the Sega Genesis. And I remember seeing this in an issue of Electronic Gaming Monthly, and I thought that it looked pretty cool. I mean, you gotta admit that the headset itself looks pretty badass, you know. So I saw it, and I'm like, I was kind of excited about it. I'd be like, yeah, that's kind of interesting, you know. And they showed this one game called Nuclear Rush. And now I know that the image here is pretty bad. I couldn't find any real good images of this game because the game was never released. So all we have is these images that were captured at CES that year. Maybe there's video online. I haven't even really looked. That might be worth looking into. Just if you guys find something, go ahead and share it below in the comments again. But anyway, so this is kind of what it looked like. And again, you get another screenshot here. This has a little bit more color. One thing that strikes me about this picture is you look down below at these gauges and stuff, and it actually looks quite a bit like Battlezone, which we'll get to in a little bit here. And so that really kind of piqued my interest. I'm like, that's kind of cool that even back then they had this idea of like being in a cockpit and you're like in a spaceship or a mech or something. So to see Battlezone now and then see that this was an idea back in like the early 90s is pretty cool, I think. But anyway, of course, the game was never released. The Sega headset never came out. And my only guess is it probably didn't come out because the Virtual Boy bombed so badly. That's probably my best guess. Or maybe they just finally realized that it wasn't going to be affordable enough. Maybe they didn't have the development team backing it enough or whatever, but it never did come out. It would have been interesting to see what they would have done with it, though. Even though it was running on the Sega Genesis, which was very limited, but it would have been interesting to see what they would have done with it. Anyway, another thing I wanted to point out, too, is that when I look at this image now, it's kind of funny because it gives me like some deja vu, because I noticed this recently when Sony had this promo shot for the VR. I noticed this and I thought, where do I know that from? You know, it looks very vaguely familiar to me. So when I recently started capturing these pictures and kind of putting together this video, I came across that. I'm like, I'll be damned if that doesn't look almost exactly like this. I mean, I think that's really funny. You can tell that Sony almost in a way kind of stole that idea, I think, because it's got that whole side profile thing going. It's just opposite sides. And I thought that was pretty funny. So I really wanted to share that with you guys because I think that's pretty hilarious. That's got to be, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think somebody remembers this image and decided that when they were going to do the promo shot for the VR that it was going to have something very much like this. Now, another thing I want to point out, that even though Sega never did come out with the headset, they did not give up on virtual reality gaming. They actually decided to come out with a game called Virtual Racing. Now, this game I actually did play. I played this quite a bit in the arcades. It was really cool. It had a big, huge, like race driving car cabinet kind of thing. And the game actually looked really good, man. And I can't remember exactly what year this game came out, if it was 93, 94, 95, but all I know is that it was extremely impressive for its time. Not just because it looked so good, but it also just ran great. I mean, the animation was really smooth. And it was just very, very impressive for its time. And even though the tracks were really short, just the you get a little bit of immersion playing this game, especially when you're in the cockpit of this car, the driver's seat, as you would say, maybe not the cockpit, but in the driver's seat. It was very cool, especially when you switch to this image. It was like 4 different camera views that you could switch to. Well, I probably played this one the most because it felt the most immersive to me. But anyway, it's pretty cool to see this now because I think it would be awesome if Sega were to like remake this game with PlayStation VR. I think that would just be awesome. If they don't do like a direct remake, then maybe some kind of sequel of sorts would be in the cards. I think that would be really awesome. If you could actually be in the actual driver's seat and then now you can look around you inside the car. You can see the road just flying by you as you're speeding in this car. I think that would be really awesome. Now, I think we should start some kind of petition for that. I think Sega is sitting on a gold mine if they do that. I think that would be a game that would sell really well, especially with people that are my age, because they have really fond memories of this game. So yeah, and now my actual first virtual reality gaming experience was actually in a unit similar to this. I was at Mall of America. And I want to say it was back in either the late 90s, early 2000s. And I came across a unit just like this. Now, this may be the actual unit. I do not know. I tried to look up more info on this game. This is called Heavy Gear. I tried looking up some info. I did not find anything. I did not find any video screenshot images. I did not find anything at all. This is just the only plain image that I got. But what I do remember playing something very similar to this. And the images in the game where like basically you're in a mech and all the images were like early 3D models where everything was very blocky. So nothing was smooth. It was not very good graphics at all, but the immersion was there. And I remember one thing that had really awkward controls where like if you had to like lean forward with this helmet, and when you lean forward, that's how your mech would move forward. And then if you go like this, if you stand up, then your mech would stop. And you could turn in all directions and you could like fire at this other mech that was off in the distance, but the controls were very, very awkward, and this headset was crazy, interesting to use, but it was very, very cool though. I mean, the immersion was there. It just, even though it was very early 3D, the immersion was there. Now, I looked up more info on this. I tried to again, but I did not find any more info, but I did find something very similar. This is called the V3. I believe the other one was called the V1. I don't know if it was made by the same company. I would imagine that it was, but anyway, I saw more images of this one. This was called V3. I looked at the video here and everything's very smooth, a little bit more advanced. I believe this was more in like 2002, 2003 when these games were released. But yeah, this is more like you had like turrets where you're shooting turrets and stuff. But again, you got the big ass headsets, and I mean, I don't know. This is what virtual reality gaming was like in the late 90s, early 2000s in the arcades. If you were lucky enough to actually find something like this in one of your local arcades. But anyway, I did not try this. I tried the other one, but again, I couldn't find much info on it. This is the one that seemed to have the most info. So this one probably was more released in more arcades, that kind of thing. But anyway, there was also units like this. I believe these were actually in some malls across the United States or maybe even Canada. If you guys were able to ever try anything like this, please comment below. Let me know if you guys ever got a chance to try something like this. I would be really interested to hear about it. This thing is called the Cypher. I didn't do any investigating on this. I just kind of found this image just earlier tonight, and I just kind of pieced this video together how I wanted to do it. But it's pretty interesting to see this, how you had the headset, you had the controller, and I believe you also had like sensors all around you. So I believe that you could actually turn around and move on the 3D plane. So that's pretty interesting. I do remember reading something about this again back in like in an Electronic Gaming Monthly magazine back in like early to mid 2000s, maybe even late 90s. I don't remember. It's been so many years, but again, if you've ever got a chance to experience something like this, go ahead and comment below. I would love to read about it. So anyway, this is what virtual reality gaming was like back then, and now here we are up to date. I remember hearing about the Oculus, and I was really excited that they're going to be bringing virtual reality gaming back, because personally, I've always believed that virtual reality gaming was the future. I've always believed that. I always also believed too that it was going to take a while, because I believe that the technology really needed to be there. It wasn't advanced enough to really release it in the home console market and then have the affordability be there. I think those two things really needed to go hand in hand. You needed to have the technology so that the games run smoothly and doesn't give you, instant motion sickness or something. And then also the affordability really needed to be there. And I think those are probably the two main obstacles, I think, for like a lot of game developers, throughout the years. I think that's why it's probably taken so long, is the technology just wasn't quite there yet, along with affordability. I think those two things really needed to go hand in hand. So I was pretty excited when I heard about the Oculus, although I heard that it was probably going to take a high-end PC to run these games. I've never owned an actual high-end PC. I've never been a big PC gamer at all. So I'm like, well, I don't know. That would be a bit of a luxury. If you're actually going to be serious about getting into the virtual reality game, that would be the way to go. But it's like, well, I don't know. So anyway, I was excited about it though. But you can only imagine how excited I was when Sony announced that they were going to be doing the PlayStation VR and it was going to work with the PS4. I was very, very excited. I was like, okay, this is really smart on their behalf. I mean, they're going to have it run with the PS4, which is already out, and they've already got like 40 million units out there already. So I'm like, yeah, that's a very smart move on their part. And of course, I love a lot of the Sony franchise games and stuff, so like Gran Turismo and God of War and stuff. I think it'd be really cool to see what they're going to do with all those franchises. But anyway, yeah, I was very, very excited when they announced this. So anyway, when I finally got a chance to try it last weekend, my first game was Eve Valkyrie, and I tried it, and yeah, I was very, very impressed with the game overall. This is actually what it actually looks like when you actually sit down. Now, one thing that really grabbed me after I sat down and I'm like looking around, I looked down and I actually saw a body. Now, that kind of tripped me out. I wasn't expecting to see that. So you actually look down, you see an actual body sitting there. I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, this is actually, I was more impressed than I thought I would be. But yeah, once the actual game starts, I was really blown away by how smooth everything ran, and really high res too. The game actually looked really great. And again, smooth animation, the controls were really responsive, and just kind of moving around, looking around the cockpit was trippy. And at first, when you first put on the headset, your eyes are going to kind of notice the screen and stuff, but once your eyes focus, you really do forget that you're actually wearing this headset. I mean, it's crazy. Like the image, I mean, the immersion and the image that you get is actually very, very high quality. And I've seen a lot of the comments and stuff about people saying that, it's the VR is going to bomb and it's too expensive and stuff. And I don't think they're completely wrong in the idea that it is very expensive. They are right. At $399 is pretty expensive, but you have to really think about what you're getting, because imagine if you're only getting a $100 or $200 VR headset. It's going to be pretty cheap. It's not going to be high quality. So you have to think about what you're getting with it. And I think once you try it, you're going to be a believer, I think. I think that's I have that firm belief that once more people actually try it, they're going to be very blown away by how good it actually is. So anyway, so I actually got to play this, and yeah, I was very impressed, and I thought it looked really good. Now, one thing though is after I shot my video, I actually did get a chance to play another game, but I did not talk about it in my video. I didn't shoot the footage for it at all. But anyway, I did try Battlezone. Now, I gotta say, this was much more visually impressive than Valkyrie. I was really impressed. As soon as you sit in that cockpit, you can see how much more detail and color there is to it. It's just really impressive. Now, I didn't notice a body in this one when you look down, but you can look at all the gauges around you, and you can actually read them really well. So I was like, wow, the immersion is just so much better in Battlezone, I feel like. And from all the videos that I've seen and all the screen captures I've seen, I think that Battlezone is probably going to be the best looking game at launch. I think Riggs looks really good too, but I think, honestly, I think this is going to be kind of like the killer app at launch. This is going to be the game to have, because it just looks really, really great. And yeah, I mean, the immersion was just unbelievable. I really felt like I was there. Everything was really smooth. Gameplay felt very natural. Again, the controls were responsive. And it didn't take me long to get really into the game. And I thought, wow, this is a game I could play for hours probably. You know, that was really honestly how I felt. Although I will say that towards the end of my demo of playing this game, I did experience just a little short bout of motion sickness. It was right when things really started getting crazy. Like there's these big like towering mechs that just started firing like crazy at me. And then I was like trying frantically to get away from them and stuff, and they just started kicking my ass, and they like blew me up and shit. And that's when I really started getting motion sickness. I think there's probably a lot of drops in frame rate, and I think that's probably why it happened. But I don't know. I plan to get the PS4 Pro, and I'm hoping that's going to alleviate some of the frame rate issues. I'm hoping that's what they've said. They said that the PS4 Pro will probably handle VR a little bit better. And I do not own a PS4 right now, so I do plan to probably just go ahead and get the PS4 Pro to go with VR, because I think those two are going to work best. I think you're going to get your best experience from the PS4 Pro. But anyway, so I did play Battlezone, and I was really impressed, though. More than I was with Valkyrie. But anyway, so I'm really excited about these two games at launch. And also they got some other great games. They got Riggs coming up, like I mentioned. Guerrilla's making this game. And Guerrilla always really has great looking games. I'm a big fan of the Killzone series, so I think this is going to be really cool. I've seen not a whole lot of video, but what I've seen, it looks pretty impressive. But again, I don't think it looks quite visually impressive as Battlezone. I think Battlezone looks the best out of all the games I've seen. And then also PlayStation VR Worlds is also going to be a killer app as well. They got a lot of great games like London Heist that look pretty cool. Then, of course, you got the Ocean Descent demo that my girlfriend tried. Again, if you haven't seen that video, I recommend going and checking it out, because it's kind of fun. She gets kind of scared like halfway through when the shark comes, and that's kind of fun to watch. But anyway, VR Worlds looks pretty good. And then you also got Drive Club VR, which I'm really excited about too. Since we don't have a Gran Turismo game at launch, this is going to be like the next best thing. And Drive Club looked amazing on PS4, so I'm really excited to see like what this is like. And I can only imagine what it would be like with a steering wheel. I think the immersion would just be unreal. And I've seen a video from PlayStation Access. Definitely check that video out if you haven't seen it. They do the demo of this game with a steering wheel, and the guy trying out the game was just wow. You could see how blown away he was. He was very impressed with it. So yeah, I'm really excited about this game at launch too. And then Hustle Kings, this is kind of one that's under the radar. Not a lot of people talking about it. I haven't seen any footage of it yet, but I can imagine that it might work really well with the PS Move controllers. I think that actually might work really well. It'd be kind of interesting, you know, just to have like a pool game in virtual reality. You know, I think that'd be pretty interesting. We'll see how that turns out. Res Infinite was a bit of a surprise to me. I mean, who would have thought that Res was going to come back and there'd be a sequel to that? I don't think anybody really anticipated that. But it's going to be really interesting. I've seen some footage of this, and it looks pretty cool. So yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting to see what they do with that game. And Super Stardust Ultra VR, I've seen some footage. To be honest, I'm not really impressed with what I've seen of this one. But, you know, to people who really like this original game, the Super Stardust game, will probably really like this game in VR. I've never really played the Super Stardust game. I've seen footage, but I've never played it. I don't know. Those type of games don't really appeal to me, I guess I would say. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with the VR. And Until Dawn Rush of Blood looks really cool too. It looks more like an on-rail shooter where you're like on this roller coaster and you're like in a fun house type setting. And one thing I want to show you too is last weekend too, I was able to pick these up. These are some PS Move controllers. And from the footage I've seen where you're having like two guns in the game, I'm thinking that these might work really well for that game. So I'm kind of excited to maybe try these out with that game. Maybe that might work really well to, again, give you that next level sense of immersion. I think would be really cool. And speaking of immersion, I'm really excited about this next game, Farpoint. It's a first-person type shooter. It looks really cool. And what's really cool about this game, though, too, is also it comes with another controller where it's got a very similar type of controller type to the sharpshooter from the PS3 Move. It looks very, very similar streamlined idea, just without all the, you know, the crazy like machine gun type look of it. But anyway, I guess this one has like sensors in the thing itself, so that you can actually move it, and it actually moves more on screen. So that's what I've heard. It actually has some kind of sensors built in and stuff. But it looks pretty damn cool. And this is actually what the back of it looks like. So you got a thumbstick up here, and then you got a thumbstick there for all your movements and stuff. And it looks pretty damn interesting. So yeah, that'll be pretty exciting to see once the game is actually released, to see people trying it. We see the footage on YouTube of people trying it and giving their impressions of it. So that'll be pretty fun and interesting. This would work really great with like Call of Duty games, obviously. Those types of first-person shooter games would be really interesting with this type of controller. So I am really excited about the release of PlayStation VR. It's hard to believe that in only like 2 weeks this thing is going to be in the homes of people. And then of course I'm going to be watching all the videos on YouTube to see, you know, everybody unboxing it and then their impressions of it, and then the gameplay footage and seeing how impressed they are with it. It'll be really interesting. So yeah, I am really excited. Just doing the demo, and to think that this is actually going to be in your home, you can play it anytime you want, just kind of blows my mind that it's, you know, it finally arrived. Virtual reality gaming at home has finally arrived. So yeah, I am really excited. So anyway, so this has been my video for the PlayStation VR. If you have enjoyed watching this video, please make sure to like, comment, or subscribe, and I'll see you next time.